Welcome back. I'm Jat Sahi, the Happy Warrior Dad. So let me share with you how the journey back to being a happy warrior and living in the joy we are all born in started for me. It was 2003 and I was in a rehearsal studio with Russian theatre director Sam Kogan. Now Sam's passion was to bring the same precision to acting and directing as he'd used in his previous engineering career, the kind of precision you see in Japanese walking competitions. Yes, that's a real thing. Now, in his quest for precision, Sam realised that what he needed to design for authentic acting were thoughts. You carefully design and hold the right thoughts in here, and then the acting out here would naturally happen. Now, this is why sometimes you'll meet a friend and you'll know there's a problem, though they aren't saying anything, because you're picking up on the surface signs of the thoughts they're having in here. Sam's belief was thinking the right thoughts in here was the pathway to authentic acting. Have the thoughts, and the right actions happened out here. But there's a big problem with actually doing this. Most of us are already so full of our own thoughts, we don't have any spare space for any new thoughts we might want to put in for a character. Our heads are like the overhead compartments of an airline that charges for hold luggage. They are already packed. How are we going to fit anything else in here? And even worse, we've been carrying our own mental baggage around for so long, we don't even notice we're carrying it anymore. Even though the thoughts in here, as I'm just about to share with you through my own example, are by far the greatest obstacle limiting us and our children from living successful and joyful lives, the lives of happy warriors. Now, I learned this lesson as we rehearsed for a play set in the 1800s in the then very isolated whitewashed villages of southern Spain. It seemed like a typical rehearsal until Sam stopped me and turned to me and spoke the words that would change the path of my life, and through that the path of my children's lives, and maybe now the path of your life too. Those words were, "Jet," he was Russian, "Jet, you are doing a shit job with this character." He went on to explain. "You see, in this village, everyone has grown up together. And even though everyone is gossiping and competing and scoring points off each other, in the end, they know they will probably marry each other and have families together. So the primary thought about life is that life is a game. We compete, we score points off each other, but in the end, we know we are all going to live together in the village. So this game of point scoring isn't serious. It's just how we belong together. So the thought your character has is that life isn't too serious. Life is a game. But you, Jat, you, the actor, have the thought in here that life is hard. So you are making this character too serious, too heavy, too stern." Now, I remember to this day the thought that immediately popped into my mind. Life is bloody hard. It's not a thought. It's the truth. It's been hard at work today, and it's hard getting here this evening, and this whole rehearsal was hard, and now your comments are making it even harder. Just please off and leave me alone. My life is hard enough. I don't need the hassle. But what I found myself saying was, "Really, Sam, thank you. I'll take a look for that." "Yes, you do that. You can clear it up. You should take a look at where you picked this thought up." "I'll tell you where I picked this thought up. The world. That's where I picked it up. The entire world is bloody hard. Everything's tough. Everything's a hassle." And of course, what I said was, "Oh, well, Sam, I'll take a look to where I might have picked it up." Now, fast forward a few days and I went to my parents' house. I was lying on the sofa, mindlessly watching TV. My mother was sitting next to me in the armchair. The adverts come on, so she gets up to make a cup of tea. And as she gets up, she makes this sound. You know it. And as she did this, I spontaneously burst into hysterics because I had a sudden flash of a memory. I remembered as a child seeing all the adults in my life getting up, making this sound of effort. And for me as a child, I was looking at these adults trying to work out what life was about. And I saw this and thought, look at what life does to you. It ruins you. It must be tough. Life is hard. And once I had this new idea, I naturally started to look for it everywhere, just to confirm it. And because I was looking, I was finding it everywhere, just like when you get a new car and you see the same car everywhere. And because I was looking and seeing it everywhere, I was reinforcing it in here. If I'd looked for other things like joy or things to be grateful for, I'd have seen those too and reinforced those instead. But never mind. For me, it was life is hard. So for 30 years, I looked at the world carrying this thought. Now, at first, I thought I was looking for evidence to reinforce it. But soon, it was stuck in here, and it was like wearing life is hard glasses. Seeing my entire experience of life through this thought. I wasn't able to see that life is hard was a thought anymore, that I was projecting into my life. For me, the thought was now my reality. I saw it everywhere. I'd forgotten I was wearing these glasses. But if I looked at the reality of my life, all I was ever doing was lying down somewhere, sitting somewhere, walking somewhere, or standing somewhere. I barely even ran unless someone was heading for my favourite seat on the train. So what's so hard about life? Especially compared to raising a family in a freezing cave, hunting woolly mammoth while avoiding saber-toothed tigers, which is something our families probably did for many generations. My life, and probably your life too, is better than nearly all the previous thousands of generations of our families. It's just what we think about it and project over our experience that screws it up. Queen Victoria, who ruled the largest empire in history, and I have more comfortable clothes, more access to healthcare, better entertainment, and I can eat as many pineapples as I want rather than only hire them for display purposes as Victorians did. Yes, that's a thing too, look it up. I began to realize that the main thing hard about my life was what my mind was thinking about it. Yes, there were things I had to do, there's things we all have to do, but I was bringing suffering into those things by thinking life was hard. Even simple things like getting up from a seat. And it's the same for nearly all of us. The real enemy for all of us and our children was recognized before Jesus was even born by the Roman writer Cicero when he wrote the words that the enemy is within the gates. And if you don't see this and undo it, then this thinking will run and ruin your entire experience of life from nearly the beginning when you put the glasses on to the very end. And of course, you'll probably be passing these on to your children in thousands of different ways every day. Now, I'd been taught specific techniques to catch these unnecessary thoughts, like life is hard, and gradually erase them from my mind. So that's what I did. I would see a thought and I'd work on it, get freer and freer, and enjoy my life a bit more. But I found this process was never ending. One thought would uncover another underneath it, and then another underneath that. It was like peeling the layers off a giant onion. But as every layer was making me freer and happier, I kept going. But then my wife announced she was pregnant, and I realized that the baggage that I had not cleaned up yet was almost certainly going to be passed invisibly onto our new child, just as it had been passed invisibly onto me. Now, for me, this was totally unacceptable. It was okay for me to suffer. It was okay for me to live a mediocre life. It was okay for me to live in anger and fear and disappointment. I can deal with my pain. I can live with my disappointment. I can take the suffering. But it was totally unacceptable for me to pass this on to a completely innocent child that would be totally reliant on me. If I could do something about it, I had to. And I knew I could do something about it. I could do the work to fix my thoughts, enjoy my life, so that my child would live in joy. I was not going to ruin this tiny innocent life that was relying on me because I hadn't done the work to fix my life. No way. My child was going to have better because I had seen better and I was going to do better. So I got to work. I pushed myself further and faster until one day I got to the middle of the onion. I found something at the bottom of all thinking, something that just by finding it, connecting to it and experiencing it would take me back to the happy warrior I was born as whenever I chose. Now that something is an experience. It's the experience we get to when we free ourselves from all the baggage we've picked up, all this stuff. Now, in the past, this experience was so rare, people thought that you had to be some kind of super being to achieve it. But believe me, you don't. I got there, and you'll get there in just a few videos from here. This experience is called enlightenment. an ancient word for a state of being that's been a luxury for the few, because the insights to get there weren't widely known, they were difficult to grasp, and we all carried too much baggage in our heads to listen anyway. Enlightenment is when you look so deeply inside yourself that you finally realize from your own direct experience what you really are and why you are really here, your true purpose. And once you have your true purpose, life becomes a joy. I promise. Enlightenment is when you let go of all the baggage you've been told you are and what you've been told is important, and find directly for yourself, by looking for yourself, what you really are and what's really important. Enlightenment is when your life becomes your life and not the life destined for you by the baggage you happen to pick up. Enlightenment is how you become a happy warrior that raises happy warriors, which is my wish for you and your family. Now, it took me a long time to achieve moments of enlightenment, but as these moments stabilized, I realized that what I had to do now was make the journey to enlightenment much shorter, faster, and easier for those who are ready to take it. For me, it was when I became a parent and I felt a responsibility to something more than me. For others, it might be when you've tried everything else and you still feel that something's missing. And for a young person, it might be that you're looking around thinking, is this world mad or is it me? Don't worry, it's the world, as you'll see. Now, if you're ready or just want to try it, what I've done is make the journey to enlightenment free, fast, and as easy as possible so that you can get there, and then we can begin forming a community of happy warrior mums, dads, daughters, and sons, all dealing with the inevitable challenges of life joyfully and successfully. This is my dream for you, your family, and our world. So in the next video, let's start the journey to enlightenment with a simple exercise that will transform your existence anywhere, anytime, any place you choose. But before you go to that video, take a look at your parents and the people that you see the most, and ask yourself, what do they think about life? What glasses are they wearing? Because you've probably picked them up and then spent your entire life looking for it, finding it, and turning it into your reality. Do the people around you see the experience of life as simple and joyful? When you think or see them, what do they look like? How do they get out of a chair? What do they say about the world? Are their comments and thoughts largely positive or largely negative? When a challenge arises, do they have thoughts that make them suffer, or do they simply and joyfully just apply themselves? Now, if it isn't simple and joyful, what is life for them? Hard, frightening, a waste, unfair, competition, pointless? What do you think? Share what you find in the comments. It's pretty funny when you see it, because then you can free ourselves and we can help each other see it and undo it by sharing our experiences, just as I have done here. It's now time for us to stop passing this baggage on to those who, through no fault of their own, rely on us. The exercise in the next video will help you do that. As ever, love to you and your family.